Hey guys, welcome back to MiahsBug. On today's episode, we are jumping in head first into this rear end. We are starting the fabrication work. A lot of you guys maybe think this rear end is good as it is, and it is. But I want it to be perfect. I want it to be exactly the way I want it. So I'm going to show you guys real quick some of the modifications I'm going to make to this rear end and these rear arms. And we're just going to jump right in and start fabricating. So let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and structurally I'm going to remove this old torsion housing. The torsion housing is pretty good as is if you support it properly and you come out here and you tie this double shear end into your chassis. You shouldn't have any problems, but I've seen quite a few guys who have broken these right here at this factory seam, this factory weld here. That in combination with the old, where the torsion bars connect in the center of the housing, there's multiple joints in here where this thing is seamed together. So I want to remove this torsion housing, this factory torsion housing, and I want to put in my own. In addition to that, I'm going to extend this portion out the full width of the body of the bug. So that will give me more leverage arm out here, a larger arm, so the load is better distributed. So in addition to that, I will be modifying these arms. I will be removing this portion of the arm, the attach point, and I'll be moving this out. I will still be using a 3/4 inch rod end out here. So I have some small adjustment with my toe in, toe out. But I will be removing this angle here. So if you look straight down on it, the point from here to here is not perpendicular to the vehicle, the track. So I want to make this perpendicular to the track of the vehicle. That will help with a couple things. It will remove the camber. As this thing moves through its travel, the wheel is moving in, the wheel is moving out. And that mostly has to do with this angle that is in here that's factory from Volkswagen. So by removing that and making it perpendicular to your track, this wheel will cycle straight up and down. And you won't have any camber change throughout the range of travel. As it travels through its motion, the toe changes. So as I'm moving up, the toe is actually bringing itself in, and it's very small. It's not a lot, but it's enough that I can see it whenever I lay a straight edge on the ground and I move it through its travel. I can see the toe changing. And what that's essentially causing is that could cause essentially rear end bump steer. So if one goes up and one goes down, one's towing in, one's towing out, I'm getting rear end bump steer. So that's going to make it less stable. So I'm going to try to solve both the structural issues with the rear torsion housing, and then change the geometry of the rear trailing arms. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it yet, but right now I'm thinking I'm going to build a jig, probably a metal jig, to be able to build the pivot points here perpendicular to the track. Okay, we got the first arm. It is notched out. Came out really good. I'm happy with it. This is a 1 3/4 inch tube notch. It used to look like that. But now we are ready on this arm anyway to install the new bushing. I'll quickly show you the fixture I built. I did attach the arm with 1 bolt here. I welded this tube on here so that way I have the ability to shim it up and down, move it back and forth, and then clamp it. And then up here, right where I'm drilling, I added 2 plates so that way I'm able to secure it down really nicely before I start trying to drill it. So that's all it is, and 2 4x4 pieces of tube welded together perfectly square. All right, and then also during the week, off camera, I was able to get these cut off. So I cut off these outside torsion housings. They were pretty simple. I cut them right on this factory weld right here. And I did the same thing on the inside. So I removed that inside tube that was in here. And the left side as well. So these parts are gone. The center section is gone. And I was ready to install my new, it's not a torsion tube anymore. It's more of a pivot tube. So I installed the new pivot tube. It's just lightly tacked into place right now. All I did was I measured the width of the car. I cut a section, the width of the car, and then I centered it up here with a center line. I used a laser to center with the pan. And then what I did is I took this, which is, this is actually the spring that's inside of the headliner. So it's like an 1/8 inch steel wire. I cut a couple pieces of that and I put them all around the tube inside, and then that perfectly centered this tube in here. The new tube that I'm using is a 2-inch OD, and the old torsion housing, the inside diameter is 2 1/4. So by using 1/8 inch rods to shim it all the way around, that actually centered it up really nice. So I made sure that this new pivot tube was perfectly square with the vehicle and perfectly level with the rest of the pan and perfectly centered on the center of the pan. So once I had all those ready to go, I tacked it up, and I'll put a couple more tacks on it, but then I'm ready to start doing the install for the rear trailing arms. Okay, so now that I got both arms notched, I removed the drill fixture, and I'm now just locating it back into place, and I've got my new pivot tube here, and I cut 2 tabs, drilled holes, and now I'm gonna make sure that this is exactly, well, pretty hard to do with one hand, but I'm gonna make sure that this is exactly square. And then once I do that, I'll weld these tabs into place, and then I'll be ready to tack weld and get this thing ready to TIG weld up. All right, there it is. I've got it all bolted up. It is perfectly square. And it's hard to see because I got all this fixture in there, but you can see the tabs in there. I got a nut on it. Once I get everything exactly the way I want it, I will weld those tabs in. Okay, there it is. Got it all welded up, ready to go. Alright, we got these bushings all welded in. They came out really good, super happy with them. The welds came out nice. I did some TIG welding, some MIG welding, just whatever, depending on how big the gaps were. But the fitment went really good. The jig worked out great. If anyone's interested in picking this jig up, Southern California, let me know. I have no use for it anymore. Alright, we got this rear pivot tube all welded in. Came out nice. The one thing that we're gonna do next is I got my pivot brackets. I welded on some weld washers. Since this bracket's only about 1/8 inch thick, I put on 1/4 inch weld washers. And now we are going to install it right there. I'm gonna use the arm to help align it, but see how the inside nut, we won't be able to get to it. So that means I'm chopping these horns off. Let's do it. Okay, so I got camber set at 0. I got toes set at 0. I've got the inner bracket all tacked in. The outer bracket tacked in and just mocked up for now. I don't have the second plate in yet, but I'll put that in later. And then I used an old tie rod I had that I messed up on, and I used that for my first piece here. And then I just added this top one, and then I'm gonna take it all apart right now, and I'll add the bottom one, and then I'll start mocking up the other side. I'll get all that done, and then we'll final weld all this stuff and be on our way. Oh yeah, one more thing. I had to make sure that I set the distance from my pivot tube to the center point of the outside pivot the same as here. So I was 1.5 inches to the center of the hole here, and 1.5 inches to the center of the hole here. So this should have no camber change throughout its travel. Okay, so the arms are done. I have a couple little bits left to weld over on that side, but for the most part, the right-hand side is done. I double sheared this. I added a top plate. I did the same thing on the inside pivot. Here I added my upper and lower tube, and then I added this here to strengthen it in this direction. But real quick, let's just check and make sure we're not getting any camber change. So, all right, we are at 0 degrees here. Okay, we're about half a degree here at full droop. And at full compression, we have about 0.35. 0.2 degrees camber change. Not bad, I'll take it. All right, guys, well, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, the whole YouTube bit, and I will catch you later.